That is an absolute dereliction of duty on the part of the Democratic leadership.
Well, the gloves are off as Bernie Sanders is voicing his frustration with the Democratic Party. So I'm going to get to what he recently said, which is a much clearer criticism than he's ever had before. I'll also get to the straw that broke the camel's back and why there really appears to be a shift, both with some members of the Democratic Party, but also for voters as a whole. And I'll also get to the positive step that this could mean for the Democratic Party going into the future. First, I want to get to some data here. This is around just how terribly the Democratic Party is performing with voters.
First up this morning, a brand new exclusive CNN poll that paints a brutal reality for Democrats as they struggle to mount a unified opposition to President Trump. Americans' favorable views of the Democratic Party's brand are at a record low, just 29%. That's compared to 36% for Republicans. It is the lowest ever recorded for Democrats in CNN polling going back more than 30 years. As you can see, the party's numbers dropping a staggering 20 points in just 4 years. The CNN SRSR's poll also found 57% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters are more interested in seeing their party leaders stop the GOP agenda, compared to 42% who are more interested in cutting bipartisan deals. It is a big shift from where the party stood at the start of Trump's first term in 2017.
That shift from 2017, when Trump was the president, to now is remarkable. This shows you that voters, in a way that they've never before, have woke up to how weak the Democratic Party is and how there has been essentially almost no fight within the party, especially when it comes to Democratic leadership like Chuck Schumer, which we'll get to in a bit. But that's just one poll, right? Oh, just one data point. Let me get to another one.
The view voters have of each party, neither is good, but look at the numbers here for Democrats. 27% positive, more than double, 55% negative. And we'll just put this on a graph for you in our poll here. This goes back a long ways, and you can see the trend line for both parties. This is what's happened to the Democrats since the election.
That is astonishing, Steve. That's an historic low, right?
That is in more than 30 years of this poll. We've never seen either party hit a number this low in terms of negatives here. One thing to note on this for the Democrats, too, a lot of that negative rating, it's coming from Democrats themselves. And a lot of that is coming from Democrats who say the party is being too cooperative in their view with Donald Trump.
All right, so we have two recent polls showing the exact same thing. Overwhelming and record high frustration with the Democratic Party, and the frustration coming from the position of they want the party to do a lot more to actually fight the Republicans. But that's just two polls. How about a third?
How about this one? Holy Toledo. Voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove, 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%, even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling. You think these numbers are bad? Let's go to this side of the screen. We'll look how Democratic voters feel. Get this. The plurality of Democratic voters disapprove of Democrats in Congress at 49%, and just 40% approve. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Oh, my goodness gracious, you just can't get worse. I'll tell you what's going on. They don't like what's coming out of some of those Senate Democrats like Chuck Schumer, because take a look at the direction of the party. Democratic voters on Democrats in Congress doing too little to oppose Donald Trump. Look at this, 77%. Should stay principled, even if it means nothing gets done in Washington, D.C., 65%. And this 65% is such a difference from where we were in 2017 at this point, when just 33% of Democrats say they should stay principled, compared to 59% who said they want to compromise. Democrats do not want compromise at this point. They want a fighter. They want to go into the ring like Muhammad Ali did against Sonny Liston. They want to take down the Republicans. They do not want this compromise anymore. They want to be more like Republicans, get up to that stage and fight.
All right, I don't think we need any more data. That is three different polls, NBC, CNN, Quinnipiac, all showing the exact same thing. Voters and Democratic voters are frustrated with the party and want the party to actually fight the Republicans. I could have also brought in data showing that people identifying as Democrat is at an all-time low, while independents continue to grow because a lot of people aren't seeing a home for them. But this gets to Bernie Sanders speaking out against the weak and terrible Democratic leadership. Democratic Party needs a major transformation. It can no longer be a top-down, billionaire-funded, consultant-driven party. It must be a multi-generational, multiracial, working-class party. In a time of growing oligarchy and authoritarianism, that's the only path to victory. This is the clearest criticism that I have seen of the Democratic Party from Bernie Sanders, and he is bang on. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. Chuck Schumer saying that he would not block the Republican funding bill amid Democratic divisions over shutdown strategy. Chuck Schumer siding with Republicans along with 9 other Democratic senators, and Donald Trump just loving it. Congratulations to Chuck Schumer for doing the right thing. Took guts and courage to side with Donald Trump. I guess that's one way to put it. So Chuck Schumer, as this is from NBC News, it's unclear what, if anything, Schumer got in return for his decision to allow the House bill to proceed. He told reporters after a Senate speech that Democrats would, quote, try to get some amendments on the bill. I would laugh more if it wasn't so sad. AOC pushed back against Schumer's argument, quote, I cannot underscore enough how incorrect that is, because what voting for this continuing resolution does is that it codifies the chaos and the reckless cuts that Elon Musk has been pursuing. That is what Senate Democrats will be empowering if they vote for the CR. And, of course, they did. A new Quinnipiac University national poll, 53% of registered voters said they would blame Trump or Republicans in Congress if the government shut down. Only 32% said they would blame Democrats, even with all the numbers on their side. The obvious strategy here being to ensure that that funding bill did not pass. Chuck Schumer and 9 other Democrats folded, or, fold is a nice way to put it. Just sided with Republicans and did what I guess they wanted to do anyways, and they might as well just name themselves Republican, because it's bizarre to be a Democrat and just side with this current Trump administration. But here is Bernie's words after that happened, and this is also a very clear indication that he wants some changes within the Democratic Party, and he's going to work to get those changes.
This bill will make the rich richer and the poor poorer. In order to pass this legislation, the Republicans needed 60 votes, which meant that they had to have 7 votes from Democrats, and they got them. Actually, they got 10 votes. That is sad. That is an absolute dereliction of duty on the part of the Democratic leadership. Nobody in this Senate should have voted for this dangerous bill.
An absolute dereliction of duty. I have never seen Bernie Sanders speak this way about Democratic leadership. This is a clear break now, where he wants to make clear that the current makeup of the Democratic Party, at least leadership, is not doing what needs to be done. And he wants to see some changes and is going around the country trying to empower voters to push for those changes. So before I get to what he is planning this week, I saw this break as I was planning this video, and this is amazing. Schumer is postponing his book tour amid major backlash from Democrats to his decision last week to pass the continuing resolution. And he's citing safety concerns. So while the Democratic Party is accurately criticizing Republicans for no longer holding town halls, at least the vast majority of them are being told not to, Schumer is also running away from voters after their frustration with him and his lack of leadership. Just incredible. So Bernie Sanders this week, AOC and I will be taking the Fighting Oligarchy tour out west. We'll be in Nevada, Arizona, and Colorado to hold town meetings with working people who are profoundly disgusted with what is going on in Washington, D.C. I hope you'll join us. And he has a little video message. I'll share that in a link below the video. But I want to get to what changes this could mean for the party. So let's be clear. The party right now, very unpopular, doing terribly. But unfortunately, it seems it had to get to this place for things to maybe get better. There are calls within the party for AOC to primary Chuck Schumer. And not just calls from, more progressive members, but moderates as well. So, as Axios reported, several members, including moderates, have begun voicing support for a primary challenge to Schumer, floating AOC and Dan Goldman as possible candidates. One lawmaker even vowed at the House Democratic retreat to, quote, write a check tonight supporting AOC, said the senior House Democrat. There are changes happening within the party as voters are increasingly getting frustrated with where the party is at. And, it's good to see these seeds begin, and hopefully something grows out of it a lot sooner than later. But it's unfortunate I had to get this place for any real changes to happen at the top, because it was clear for a while. I've been covering what's been happening in the U.S. for the past 10 years. It was clear 10 years ago that the party was going in this direction, and that change needed to happen then to avoid the situation that the party and the country is currently in. But it didn't, and now they're in this place where there's no other choice really but to have a major shift within the party. So let me get to, this is the last thing I want to show, just an example of what the kind of message that Bernie Sanders is giving out at these various town halls. And this was in the overflow room because he had filled up the auditorium, so there was an overflow of people that he would to speak to later on. And here's what he said.
I don't want anybody here to feel that we cannot stop Trumpism. We can. And I don't want, but we can't unless people come together and get involved in the political process. They think they can roll over us, but they're not. We're going to fight back. And not only are we going to fight back and defeat Trumpism and oligarchy and authoritarianism, our job in the richest country in the history of the world is to create the kind of nation that we know we can become. It is not utopian. It is not impossible to believe that every man, woman, and child in this country can have a decent standard of living. We don't need people dying because they can't afford prescription drugs or get to a doctor. What is going on now is an unprecedented level of greed and power on top. These oligarchs want it all. They really do. They are not nice guys. And if we stand together, we can beat them. And for the future of not only our lives, but our future generations, we must beat them. Let's go forward together. Thank you all very much.
Bernie Sanders is essentially filling the void of what the Democratic leadership is failing to do. And it's really good to see him stand up and do this and sort of set the stage for a potential future leader to emerge and really separate what the party currently is versus what it can be and what it should be. And I think Bernie's going to play a pivotal role in deciding the future of the party and just the general opposition to the Republican Party. And hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, I know he's going to do this, do it with some real goals in mind in terms of what people should expect out of government. So that's all going to come, much later on. But there is definitely a movement within the U.S. against where the Democratic Party currently is, at least where leadership currently is. And it's good to see that boil to the surface and begin to push for some real change.